welcome to Sunshine for Your Life. I'm going to start off today with a story, and it's about a father who brings his little boy to Washington, D.C. He wants to show him the sights, get him a little used to how the government works and so forth. So he brings his little boy, I don't know how old the boy is, to Washington, D.C. to see the sights, and the little boy is watching and seeing all the monuments, and he decided that he loves the Washington Monument, and he wanted to buy it. So he told his father, I really want to buy the Washington Monument. So his dad encouraged him to talk to the guard about it, see what's up, see if he can actually buy it, how much it'll cost, and so forth. So he talked to the guard, and he told him that he really wanted to buy the Washington Monument. So the guard asked him, how much money do you have to buy it? And the little boy proudly said, I have 35 cents. And the guard said, well, there are three things that you need to understand about this monument. For one thing, 35 cents is not enough money to buy it. The second thing is the Washington Monument is not for sale. And the third is, if you are an American citizen, you already own it. So how many times do we think we've asked God for blessings that we already own? We ask him to do things that he's already promised to do. These blessings are for us. They already belong to us. There is a story about a woman who was working for a man who was very, very rich, and the man died, and he left her this little piece of paper. And she loved him, and he loved her. There was no money involved, or so she thought. So she had this little piece of paper which she framed, and she kept it on the wall because it was a remembrance of him. Later on, somebody came by and recognized that what he had done was given her a check for so much money that it would take care of her for the rest of her life. She did not know that. She was not educated. She just looked at it as a very nice piece of paper, and it had his handwriting on it. So it was explained to her that she owned a lot of money. She owned over $1 million, well able to take care of all of her financial needs for the rest of her life. And he had left that to her. But she just didn't know what it was until somebody explained it to her, and the money was deposited, and then she was well set for her life. He took care of her. She didn't even know it. How many times has God taken care of us? We don't even know it, and we don't recognize it. And the things that we have and the miracles that come our way, sometimes we don't even acknowledge because we don't understand how powerful they are. So this little boy is told that if you are an American citizen, you already own that Washington Monument. It belongs to you, as well as all kinds of other people who are also American citizens. As I said before, many people pray for what they already have, and they don't understand that they already have it. How many times, if you've been in a hospital and somebody has prayed for the sick and say, oh God, please don't leave so-and-so. Please go with so-and-so as they go through their surgery. Please heal somebody. Stay with her. Don't leave her. When God has already said, I will never leave you. I will never forsake you. So that promise that God will be with you is there. That's not going to ever be broken. That's going to be there for you permanently. If you are a Christian, he's never going to leave you. He's never going to forsake you. So the first verse that I'm going to read today is going to be Hebrews 13, verse 5. I have read it. I'm going to read it from the NIV version. I've taken it from the NIV version, and this is what it says. God has said, never will I leave you, never will I forsake you. And I'm going to read that again. God has said, never will I leave you, never will I forsake you. That's his promise. If you are having a problem, it is his promise that he will never leave you and he will never forsake you. So you don't have to ask him not to leave. He's not going to leave. That's not him. Now, in the Hebrews, which is the next verse I'm going to read, Hebrews 13, verse 6, I'm going to take that from the NIV version, and this is what it says. So we can say with confidence, the Lord is my helper. I will not be afraid. What can man do to me? And I will read that again. So we can say with confidence, the Lord is my helper. I will not be afraid. What can man do to me? What does that mean? Man, meaning anybody, can't do anything to hurt you because God is going to help you. If anyone tries to hurt you, God is right there to defend you. He's not going to leave you. He's not going to forsake you. Now, the next verse that I'm going to read comes from Hebrews, and Hebrews 13, same as before, and it's going to be verse 8, and I'm reading this from the NIV version as well. And this is what it says. Jesus Christ is the same yesterday and today and forever. Let me read it again. Jesus Christ is the same yesterday and today and forever. So if I put all of these things together, what are we saying? Well, we're saying, never will I leave you, never will I forsake you. This is what God is saying. I'm never going to leave you. I'm always going to be with you. And then we are responding and saying with confidence that God is my helper, and I don't have to be afraid of what anyone does to me because he is my helper. And then God is saying also, I am the same yesterday, today, and forever. An unchangeable God to be with you forever, to help you no matter what your circumstances was. Now, a while ago, I was taking a friend of mine to the hospital for an appointment. It was not my appointment, it was hers, and I just provided transportation. And I was wearing a T-shirt that had printed on the back of it, Jesus Christ is the same yesterday and today and forever. That's a Hebrews verse in Hebrews that I've already read, and it was printed on the back of the T-shirt. And as I was walking around waiting for my friend to get out of her appointment, a visitor stopped me and said to me, you have no idea what it means that you wore that T-shirt today. And I didn't know who she was, but we stopped to talk. And she says, my mother is in this hospital dying. And I just needed to know for sure that God is going to be with us forever. He's never going to leave us. He's never going to forsake us. And you're wearing that T-shirt, and it's printed on the back of the T-shirt that He's the same yesterday, today, and forever. It gives me hope. It gives me hope knowing that He is really there for us. And the fact He caused you to wear that shirt today, so I would get that message. God works through people to help other people. And in a sense, I was a help to her because she was reading the scriptures that she needed, and they were already printed on my T-shirt. So you would be surprised the things that happen, and He is there for you. Now, we are coming into a new year, and a lot of bad things have happened this year. There's been more violence than I've ever seen before. I can't even conceive of the violence that's occurred this last year. It's just been terrible. But God has not changed. His purposes have not changed. His offer of salvation has not changed. His care for His believers, His love for people, that has not changed. You have to understand who God is. You have to understand what His character is. He is a God of love. He is a God of forgiveness. If you've done something that you are really, really ashamed of, then you can go to Him for forgiveness, ask for it, and He will give it to you. The Bible promises that. But He will also be with you, stay with you, take care of you, protect you, lead you in the way that you're supposed to go, and that's never going to change. His characteristics are permanent. So we have to remember that. And I'm going to read a verse in Ephesians 2, verse 4 and 5. This will not be on the screen, so you can just listen to it. It says, but because of His great love for us, God, who is rich in mercy, made us alive with Christ. Even when we were dead in transgressions, it is by grace you have been saved. I do want to read that again. But because of His great love for us, God, who is rich in mercy, made us alive with Christ. Even when we were dead in transgressions, it is by grace you have been saved. And then it goes on and says, it is by grace you have been saved. It is the gift of God, not by works, so that no one can boast. So what the Bible is saying here is the fact that things that happen to us, we can't save ourselves. And if we do good works and do good things, that by itself is not going to save us. Now, it is true. We do good things when we have a relationship with God because He wants us to. He gives us things to do. He wants us to do good things. But good things by itself, and there are a lot of good people who step up and help, and I'm thankful that they do, but being good by itself and doing good things by itself will not give you a relationship with Christ. I've heard so many people say, well, I haven't been too bad, so I should go to heaven. I haven't done too many things wrong, but they don't understand what the gospel really says. The gospel really says no matter how good you are, you're not going to go to heaven because you have good works. You are only going to go to heaven because of God's grace. And that means that if you are a believer in Him, you will go to heaven. You will do good works because of His grace, but good works before you have a relationship with Him does not get you to heaven. You have to have a relationship. And that's possible just by accepting Jesus into your life and asking for forgiveness, because no matter how good you are, everybody has done something that they shouldn't have done. Everybody has made their share of mistakes. Even if you don't realize it at the time, there's no way that human beings can be perfect by themselves. It just doesn't happen because we're not born that way, because the world is full of sin. The world is full of problems and chaos. If people were able to solve the world's problems by themselves, which is what most people think, it would have been done a long time ago. For years, it's been approximately 2,000 years or so since Jesus was born, and we haven't been able to solve our problems yet. I would think that if we were capable as human beings to do that, then we would have done so. Within this 2,000-year span, somehow we would have been able to do that. But we can't because we don't have that mindset, because we don't have enough intelligence to do that. So we have to wait for God to do it. You know, in this year, we have to remember that only through God can we accomplish the things that we can accomplish. Now, God will help us to do what we need to do. And when you become a Christian, something is different about you. You love people. You love God. You serve God. And what can happen is that you will now do things that you couldn't do before. You really can love God. You really can have a relationship with Him. And you can serve God. And you can know that God loves you. And God will grant you blessings upon blessings upon blessings. Things that you would not even expect, but things that can carry you through the new year. There was an orchestra conductor, his name is Gilbert Kaplan, and he had this to say about music that he was writing. He was a conductor, and music that he would write, music that he would conduct, made this comment about that music. He said, the music just seemed to wrap its arms around me and never let go. And in a sense, that's what God does. He wraps His arms around you and He doesn't let go. And He makes all things new, and He gives you your talents and your abilities. Now, there's an Olympic skater. His name is Brian Wells, and he said this about his skating. He said, the opportunity to skate in the Olympics is worth sacrificing anything to me. You have to go out and dream and do it without ever being sure of what will happen. You know, the chance to be able to serve God, work with Him, do good works for Him, have Him by His side, it's worth everything. And you have to do the good works He wants you to do, and you go out and you do them without ever being sure what will happen. You do something good for something, you don't know how far God will carry it. You don't know if it's going to be carried to the next town, if people are going to talk about it somewhere else, if it's going to have an impact upon somebody else's life. When you impact other people's lives, and they can impact other people's lives who impact other people's lives, and so it goes down the scale. A little like throwing a stone in the water with a ripple effect. It just goes and goes and goes, and the ripples get wider and wider and go further and further. Anything you do for a person that's good can have a ripple effect. If you are a Christian and you're doing things in a Christian sense, you don't know how far God will take it, but he will take it very far. And in the end, when you find out in the heavenlies what you did and how effective it was and who took it where, you'll be amazed to see that what happened to you and what you've done that's good has carried a very long way. Now I'm going to read Isaiah 46. This is not on the screen. And it's Isaiah 46, 10 and 11, and I'm reading it from the NIV version, and it says this: I make known the end from the beginning. My purposes will stand, and I will do all that I please. I will read that again. I make known the end from the beginning. My purpose will stand, and I will do all that I please. And I want to read another verse in Philippians, and it says this is going to be Philippians 1:6. It's not on the screen. I'm taking it from the NIV version, and it says this: He who has begun a good work in you will carry it on to completion until the day of Christ Jesus. So what does that mean? He who has begun a good work in you will carry it on to completion. He has started a good work in you if you are a Christian, and he's going to carry it on. You don't really have to worry about your legacy, although many Christians worry about their legacy. Have I done enough? Is anything that I've done going to be carried on? Well, God's going to carry it on as far as it needs to be carried on. So whatever you do, God will make sure whatever work that you're doing, it's not going to stop until God says it's ready to stop and we need to do something else. God is in charge of our good works. He allows us to do good works. The good works don't save us, but because we are saved, we can do good works. And when we do good works, these will carry on and carry on and carry on as much as it can. I'm thinking of Thomas Kincaid. I didn't write this down. It's just a thought I had. Thomas Kincaid was a wonderful painter. He was called the painter of lights. And he was a deeply devoted Christian and unfortunately died early. But his paintings get recreated and on they go, and they're all Christian paintings. And you can feel sometimes that God is within the painting. When he walks down a pathway and Jesus is walking with a person down a pathway, you feel that. And so his paintings go far and wide. He's been very popular. I hope they will continue to sell copies of them. And you have to remember that what he did, the influence of what he did, gets carried on to future generations. And I really think if you have done something really good for people, then that gets carried on to future generations. As I said before, we live in a very bad world, a world that's tainted with sin. But we don't have to worry about that because God will protect us. And then if anything happens, we have done our work well. God will carry that through as far as he wants to carry it through, and we will have our legacy. So you have to, first of all, make that decision that God is in your life, that God should be in your life, and you make that decision because he is already a savior of everybody. You just have to accept that, and then he will carry your work through this year, in future years, and it will accomplish what he wants you to accomplish, and therefore you will be greatly rewarded for all of that. So I'm going to close it here. We'll do something next time. Please join me next time.